Navigating breakups with Stoic philosophical strength. Most people think breakups are supposed to destroy you. But what if I told you that ancient Roman emperors and Greek philosophers used a secret mental framework that turned their worst romantic disasters into their greatest personal victories? Here's the truth nobody talks about. The same Stoic principles that helped Marcus Aurelius rule an empire and Epictetus survive slavery can transform your breakup from emotional devastation into the catalyst for becoming the strongest version of yourself. While everyone else is drowning in ice cream and revenge fantasies, you're about to learn why Stoics actually welcomed difficult breakups as training grounds for mental resilience. These weren't just old men with beards spouting pretty quotes. These were battle-tested individuals who faced real heartbreak, real betrayal, and real loss, yet emerged more powerful than before. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the counterintuitive Stoic techniques that flip breakup pain on its head, why accepting loss actually makes you magnetic to better relationships, and the specific mental exercises that ancient philosophers used to build unshakable emotional strength. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your breakup might be the best thing that ever happened to your personal growth. 1. The preferred indifferent reframe. There's a reason why some people bounce back from breakups in weeks while others stay devastated for years, and it has nothing to do with how much they loved their newer. The secret lies in how they viewed the relationship from day one. Most people make a fundamental mistake that guarantees maximum heartbreak when things end. They treat their relationship like they own it. But here's what the ancient Stoics discovered about love that changes everything. They had a concept that sounds weird at first, but becomes pure genius once you understand it. They called certain things preferred indifference, and relationships fell into this category. Stay with me, because this will revolutionize how you handle not just breakups, but every relationship moving forward. Think about the last time you rented a car. You probably enjoyed driving it, took care of it, maybe even felt a little attachment to it. But when you returned it to the rental company, you didn't fall emotionally. You didn't spend weeks crying about losing your car. You didn't stalk the rental lot hoping to see it again. Why? Because you never forgot it wasn't really yours to begin with. This is exactly how Stoics approached relationships, and it's the first technique that will transform your breakup experience. Your ex-relationship was like that rental car. You got to enjoy the ride, create memories, and experience something beautiful. But you never actually owned it. You never owned your near's feelings, their choices, or their future decisions. You were borrowing time together, not purchasing a lifetime guarantee. Here's where most people mess up their own healing process. They spend months angry that someone took their relationship away from them. But you can't steal something that was never owned in the first place. Your ex didn't break a contract with the universe. They simply returned what was always on loan. The Stoics weren't cold or unfeeling about love. They understood that relationships are beautiful, valuable, and worth pursuing. That's why they called them preferred indifference. Preferred means you'd rather have them than not. Indifferent means your core happiness doesn't depend on keeping them forever. This mindset shift eliminates the possessive desperation that makes breakups so torturous. When you truly grasp that you were borrowing your near's presence, not buying their permanent commitment, something magical happens. You start appreciating what you had instead of resenting what you lost. Right now, I want you to think about your last relationship differently. Instead of viewing it as something that was ripped away from you, see it as borrowed time that you got to enjoy. Every laugh, every intimate moment, every shared experience was a gift you received temporarily. The relationship didn't fail because it ended. It succeeded because it happened at all. This is Stoic technique number 1 out of 10 powerful methods we're covering today. The preferred indifferent reframe transforms your relationship from a possession you lost into an experience you were privileged to have. When you stop owning outcomes, you stop suffering from them. Your homework after this video is simple, but life-changing. Write down 3 ways your past relationship was like borrowing something valuable rather than losing something you owned. Notice how this shifts your emotional response from victim to grateful recipient. The ancient Stoics used this technique to maintain their peace during the most challenging losses. Marcus Aurelius lost multiple children and never stopped leading effectively. Epictetus was enslaved and remained philosophically strong. They knew the secret of enjoying life's gifts without clinging to them desperately. This first technique alone will cut your recovery time in half, but we're just getting started. The next technique will show you how to turn your breakup pain into the very fuel that makes you emotionally bulletproof. 2. The obstacle as path. Transformation. Every person going through a breakup asks themselves the same question. Why is this happening to me? But there's another question that separates those who emerge stronger from those who stay stuck in victim mode. That question is, how is this happening for me? The difference between those 2 questions determines whether your breakup becomes your breakdown or your breakthrough. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the Roman Empire during one of its most challenging periods, faced constant obstacles. Plagues, wars, betrayals, and personal losses that would crush most people. Yet he developed a principle that turned every setback into a setup for greater strength. He discovered that obstacles don't block the path forward. They become the path forward. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but your breakup is functioning like a personal trainer for your emotional resilience. Think about what happens when you hire a trainer at the gym. They don't make your life easier. They make it harder on purpose. They add weight, increase repetitions, and push you past your comfort zone. Why? Because struggle creates strength. Your breakup is doing the exact same thing to your emotional muscles. It's forcing you to develop capabilities you never knew you had. It's teaching you to be comfortable with uncertainty, to find happiness without external validation, and to rebuild your identity from the ground up. These aren't punishments. These are promotions to a higher level of personal power. Here's what most people miss about difficult breakups. They focus on what they're losing instead of what they're gaining. But every ending creates space for something better to begin. Every comfort zone that gets shattered opens up possibilities that didn't exist before. Every familiar routine that gets disrupted forces you to discover new S of yourself. Right now, your breakup is restructuring your entire life in ways that benefit you. It's removing people who weren't meant for your future. It's clearing out relationship patterns that were limiting your growth. It's creating urgency around building the life you actually want instead of the life you settled for. This is Stoic technique number 2 out of our 10 life-changing methods. The obstacle as path transformation teaches you to collaborate with your difficulties instead of fighting them. When you start viewing your breakup as training rather than trauma, everything changes. But here's the key to making this technique work. You need to get specific about how this obstacle is creating your path forward. Vague optimism doesn't build real strength. Precise recognition of growth does. I want you to identify 3 specific ways this breakup is forcing you to become stronger. Maybe it's teaching you to enjoy your own company without needing constant validation. Maybe it's showing you relationship red flags you ignored before. Maybe it's pushing you to pursue goals you postponed while you were coupled up. Write these 3 growth areas down because they're not accidents. They're the exact skills you needed to develop for your next level of life. Your breakup isn't randomly hurting you. It's strategically preparing you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal that every obstacle teaches us something we couldn't learn any other way. Easy relationships don't build emotional resilience. Comfortable situations don't reveal hidden strengths. Smooth sailing doesn't prepare you for storms. Your breakup is like a master class in advanced relationship skills. It's teaching you how to maintain your identity in nurse ships, how to communicate your needs clearly, how to recognize compatibility issues early, and how to love without losing yourself. These lessons are worth more than any relationship that avoided teaching them to you. The people who recover fastest from breakups aren't the ones who pretend they're not hurt. They're the ones who get curious about what they're learning. They ask better questions. Instead of, "Why me?" they ask, "What now?" Instead of, "This is unfair," they ask, "How does this make me stronger?" This mindset shift transforms your breakup from something that happened to you into something that happened for you. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start being a student of growth. The pain doesn't disappear, but it gains purpose. Coming up next, we'll explore the third technique that helps you take complete control of your healing process by separating what you own from what you don't. The dichotomy of control audit. The fastest way to drive yourself crazy after a breakup is to waste energy on things you never controlled in the first place. Most people torture themselves by replaying conversations, analyzing their ex's social media, and wondering what they could have done differently. But here's the truth that will set you free. Half of what you're stressing about was never in your hands to begin with. The ancient Stoics discovered something that modern psychology is just catching up to. There are only two categories of things in life: what you control and what you don't. Everything else is just confusion and suffering. They called this the dichotomy of control, and it's about to become your secret weapon for rapid recovery. Think about your breakup like a business audit. When companies struggle, they don't waste time on factors outside their influence. They focus exclusively on what they can actually change. Your emotional recovery needs the same strategic approach. Here's what you actually controlled in your relationship: your words, your actions, your effort, your boundaries, and your choices. That's it. Here's what you never controlled: your near's feelings, their decisions, their commitment level, their communication style, and their reasons for leaving. This might seem obvious, but most breakup suffering comes from trying to own responsibilities that were never yours. Right now, you're probably carrying guilt and regret about things that were completely outside your influence. You're wondering if you should have been more affectionate, less needy, more interesting, or less demanding. But here's the liberating truth. Your nar's choice to leave was based on factors you couldn't control even if you tried. This is Stoic technique number 3 out of our 10 powerful methods. The dichotomy of control audit stops you from wasting precious energy on things that were never your responsibility. When you clearly separate what you owned from what you rented, your healing accelerates dramatically. I want you to grab a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, write "my responsibility." On the right side, write "not my responsibility." Now list everything about your breakup under the correct column. Under "my responsibility," you might write things like how I communicated my needs, the effort I put into the relationship, the boundaries I maintained, how I handled conflicts, and the personal growth work I did or didn't do. Under "not my responsibility," you'll write their decision to leave, their ability to commit, their communication problems, their unresolved issues from past relationships, and their readiness for the kind of nurse-ship you offered. This exercise reveals something powerful. Most of your self-blame belongs in the "not my responsibility" column. You've been beating yourself up for outcomes you never controlled. That's like blaming yourself for the weather or apologizing for gravity. The things that were actually your responsibility become clear learning opportunities instead of sources of shame. Maybe you could improve your communication skills for future relationships. Maybe you need better boundaries or clearer standards. These insights help you grow instead of keeping you stuck in regret. This audit eliminates the blame cycle that keeps people trapped in breakup misery for months. You stop rehearsing imaginary conversations where you convince your ex to come back. You stop analyzing their new relationship for clues about what you lack. You stop checking if they're thinking about you because you realize their thoughts were never your dement anyway. When you focus only on what you actually control, your power returns immediately. You have energy for self-improvement instead of surveillance. You have clarity about what to change instead of confusion about what went wrong. The next technique will prepare you to handle future relationship challenges with the emotional strength of a Stoic warrior. 4. The negative visualization. Preparation. Most people avoid thinking about relationship endings until they're forced to face them. They build their entire happiness on the assumption that good things will last forever. But the Stoics discovered something counterintuitive about preparing for loss that actually makes relationships better while they last and recovery faster when they end. There's a mental exercise that sounds depressing but creates unshakable emotional strength. The Stoics called it negative visualization, and it's the reason they could handle devastating losses with grace, while everyone else fell A. They regularly imagined losing what they valued most, not to be pessimistic, but to build appreciation and resilience. Think about how most people approach relationships. They get comfortable, assume permanence, and stop appreciating daily moments because they expect infinite tomorrows. Then, when breakups happen, they're completely unprepared for the emotional impact. It's like never practicing fire drills and then panicking when the alarm goes off. But what if you could practice relationship endings before they happened? What if you could build emotional fireproofing that protected you from devastation while actually making you more grateful for what you have right now? This mental training might seem morbid, but it's actually one of the most loving things you can do for both yourself and your nearer. When you regularly remember that your relationship could end, you stop taking it for granted. You pay attention to small moments. You express appreciation more often. You resolve conflicts faster because you know time isn't guaranteed. Here's how negative visualization transforms your breakup experience. Instead of being blindsided by loss, you're mentally prepared for it. Instead of feeling like your world collapsed, you remember that you practiced for this scenario. Instead of believing you can't survive without your ner, you know you've already rehearsed independent happiness. This is Stoic technique number 4 out of our 10 life-changing methods. Negative visualization preparation builds emotional anti-fragility by practicing loss before it becomes real. When you're mentally prepared for endings, they lose their power to destroy you. The exercise is simple, but requires consistent practice. Once a month, spend 10 minutes imagining your current relationship ending. Not because you want it to end, but because you want to be prepared if it does. Visualize yourself handling the breakup with dignity, rebuilding your life successfully, and finding happiness again. During this visualization, notice what you would miss most about your near. Then make sure you're appreciating those qualities right now while you still can. Notice what you would regret not saying or doing. Then say and do those things while you have the opportunity. This isn't about becoming paranoid or expecting the worst. It's about building the emotional muscle memory that helps you handle loss gracefully. Athletes practice for scenarios they hope never happen. Soldiers train for battles they hope to avoid. Your heart needs the same preparation. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced negative visualization about losing his empire, his family, and his life. This didn't make him pessimistic or depressed. It made him incredibly grateful for each day and emotionally resilient when losses actually occurred. The people who recover fastest from breakups aren't those who loved less deeply. They're those who loved more consciously. They appreciated their nears without clinging desperately. They enjoyed their relationships without demanding guarantees. They invested emotionally without making their happiness entirely dependent on external outcomes. Right now, even if you're already going through a breakup, this technique helps you prepare for future relationships. Instead of approaching love with desperate attachment, you can love freely because you're not afraid of loss. Instead of clinging to nears out of fear, you can appreciate them out of choice. When you regularly practice losing what you value, two things happen. First, you become genuinely grateful for what you have, instead of just expecting it to continue. Second, you build confidence in your ability to handle whatever life brings you. This doesn't make you cold or detached. It makes you brave enough to love fully without needing guarantees. It makes you strong enough to handle endings without falling A. It makes you wise enough to appreciate beginnings without assuming they'll last forever. The next technique will show you how to zoom out from your breakup drama and see it from a perspective that instantly reduces its emotional intensity. 5. The view from above. Perspective. Right now, your breakup feels like the most important event in human history. Every detail seems significant. Every memory carries enormous weight. Every day without your ex feels like a lifetime. But there's a perspective shift that instantly shrinks your suffering while keeping your healing intact. Marcus Aurelius used to imagine viewing his daily problems from high above, as if he were looking down from the moon or stars. From that cosmic perspective, the dramas that consumed his days became tiny blips in an infinite universe. The technique didn't minimize his humanity. It maximized his wisdom. Your breakup is consuming your mental bandwidth because you're viewing it through a microscope instead of a telescope. You're examining every text message, analyzing every social media post, and replaying every conversation like they're matters of life and death. But what happens when you zoom out? Imagine you're watching your breakup story from 10 years in the future. From that perspective, how significant does this current pain really look? What would the wiser, more experienced version of yourself say about the drama you're experiencing right now? That future version of you has probably been through several more relationships. They've learned lessons you haven't discovered yet. They've gained perspectives you can't see from your current position. And most importantly, they remember your current breakup as a necessary stepping stone, not a dead end. Here's what that future self would tell you. This breakup isn't the end of your love story. It's the beginning of a better chapter. The person you're mourning wasn't your final destination. They were preparation for someone who fits you better. This is Stoic technique number 5 out of our 10 transformative methods. The view from above perspective instantly reduces emotional intensity by expanding your time frame. When you see your current situation from a broader viewpoint, the crisis becomes manageable and the lessons become clear. But let's zoom out even further. Imagine viewing your breakup from the perspective of your entire lifetime. You'll probably live for several more decades. You'll meet thousands of new people. You'll have experiences you can't currently imagine. You'll develop skills and wisdom that don't exist yet. From that lifetime perspective, your current breakup occupies a tiny fraction of your total experience. It's like being devastated about a bad day when you have thousands of good days ahead of you. The pain is real, but the proportion is distorted. Now, let's expand the view one more level. Imagine looking at your breakup from the perspective of human history. Billions of people have experienced heartbreak before you. Billions more will experience it after you're gone. Your pain connects you to the universal human experience, instead of isolating you in unique suffering. This doesn't minimize your feelings or make your experience less valid. It puts your healing in context. You're not the first person to survive a devastating breakup, and you won't be the last. There's ancient wisdom and modern science dedicated to helping people through exactly what you're experiencing. From this expanded perspective, you start asking different questions. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of, "How will I ever get over this?" you ask, "How will this make me stronger?" The view from above technique works because it activates your prefrontal cortex, the of your brain responsible for perspective and planning. Instead of keeping you stuck in your amygdala, that generates fear and panic. Here's your practical assignment. Once a day, spend 5 minutes imagining your current breakup from 3 different perspectives. First, from 1 year in the future. Second, from 10 years in the future. Third, from the end of your entire life looking back. From each perspective, notice how your current crisis looks different. Notice what advice each version of yourself would offer. Notice how much less dramatic and more manageable your situation becomes. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we suffer more in imagination than reality. The view from above technique corrects that by giving you a reality check that shrinks your suffering without denying your experience. This perspective doesn't rush your healing or invalidate your pain. It provides context that makes your healing more efficient and your pain more purposeful. Next, we'll explore how to transform your post-breakup loneliness from something you endure into something that makes you stronger. 6. The voluntary discomfort. Training. Most people treat post-breakup loneliness like a disease that needs immediate treatment. They rush into rebound relationships, stay constantly busy with distractions, or surround themselves with people to avoid being alone with their thoughts. But the Stoics discovered that running from discomfort makes you weaker, while embracing it makes you unshakable. There's a difference between loneliness that weakens you and solitude that strengthens you. The difference isn't in your circumstances, it's in your approach. When you treat being alone as punishment, it becomes torture. When you treat it as training, it becomes transformation. Think about how athletes build strength. They don't avoid resistance. They add more weight to the bar. They don't run from difficulty. They increase the challenge. Your emotional resilience needs the same approach. Your breakup loneliness isn't something to escape from. It's something to learn from. The Stoics practiced something called voluntary discomfort. They deliberately chose difficult situations to build mental toughness. They slept on hard surfaces, ate simple foods, and spent time in challenging conditions. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they wanted to prove they could handle anything life threw at them. Your post-breakup period is the perfect time for emotional voluntary discomfort training. Instead of desperately seeking distractions from your loneliness, you can use it as a gym for your mental strength. Instead of avoiding the empty spaces your ex left behind, you can practice filling them with your own presence. This is Stoic technique number 6 out of our 10 powerful methods. Voluntary discomfort. Training transforms your post-breakup loneliness from something you endure into something that makes you stronger. When you stop running from being alone, you start becoming comfortable with yourself. Here's what happens when you embrace post-breakup solitude instead of fighting it. you discover that you're actually pretty good company for yourself. You realize you don't need constant external validation to feel valuable. You learn to make decisions based on your own judgment instead of seeking approval from others. This isn't about becoming antisocial or avoiding future relationships. It's about building the foundation of self-reliance that makes you attractive to healthy nears instead of desperate for any near. Most people bring their fear of being alone into their relationships, which creates clingy, needy behavior that pushes nears away. When you're genuinely comfortable with solitude, you can love without desperation and commit without losing yourself. Your assignment during this breakup period is counterintuitive but powerful. Instead of booking every evening with activities and friends, schedule regular alone time. Sit with your thoughts without immediately reaching for your phone. Eat meals by yourself without entertainment. Go to movies solo. Take walks without podcasts or music. During these alone times, notice what comes up. Maybe you'll feel sad, bored, restless, or anxious. Don't try to fix these feelings immediately. Just observe them like a scientist studying data. These emotions aren't emergencies. They're information about what you need to develop in yourself. The goal isn't to enjoy every moment of being alone. The goal is to prove to yourself that you can handle it. When you know you can be happy by yourself, you never have to settle for relationships that make you unhappy. This voluntary discomfort training builds what psychologists call distress tolerance. It's your ability to experience difficult emotions without immediately escaping or numbing them. People with high distress tolerance recover from breakups faster and make better relationship choices in the future. Remember, the Stoics weren't trying to eliminate human connection or become emotionally numb. They were building the emotional strength that allowed them to connect authentically without desperate attachment. Next, we'll explore how understanding the interconnected nature of all events can eliminate personal blame and resentment from your breakup experience. 7. The sympathia connection principle. There's a question that tortures everyone going through a breakup. Why did they choose to leave me? You replay conversations looking for clues. You analyze their behavior for signs you missed. You create elaborate theories about what you did wrong or what you could have done differently. But what if your ex's decision had less to do with your shortcomings and more to do with forces completely beyond your control? The Stoics believed in something called sympathia, which means universal connection. Everything in the universe is interconnected like a web. Every event influences every other event. Your ex's decision to leave wasn't made in isolation. It was the result of countless factors that had nothing to do with you personally. Think about what influenced your ex's choice to end the relationship. Their childhood experiences, their past relationships, their current stress levels, their family dynamics, their career pressures, their personal insecurities, their life goals, and their emotional maturity. Most of these factors existed long before they met you and will continue long after you're gone. Your ex's decision was like weather patterns. Multiple atmospheric conditions combined to create the storm that ended your relationship. You didn't cause the weather. You just happened to be in its path. This doesn't minimize the impact on your life, but it eliminates the personal blame that makes recovery so much harder. Here's what makes this perspective revolutionary. It frees you from the exhausting work of trying to figure out what you did wrong. Your ex's choice was as inevitable as rain falling or seasons changing. It was the natural result of who they are, where they are in life, and what they're capable of right now. This is Stoic technique number 7 out of our 10 life-changing methods. The sympathia connection principle helps you see your ex's decision as of a larger pattern leading to better outcomes for both of you. When you stop taking their choice personally, You stop wasting energy on resentment and blame. But this principle goes deeper than just eliminating self-criticism. It actually reveals why your breakup was necessary for your own growth and future happiness. If your ex stayed in the relationship despite being unprepared or unwilling to meet your needs, you would have remained stuck in a situation that limited your potential. Their decision to leave created space for someone who actually wants what you offer. It forced you to develop strengths you needed anyway. It revealed relationship patterns you needed to recognize. It cleared a path to experiences you couldn't access while you were coupled with the wrong person. From the sympathia perspective, your ex didn't abandon you. They fulfilled their role in your growth story. They weren't supposed to be your permanent en-heir. They were supposed to be your preparation for your permanent near. This doesn't mean you should be grateful for the pain or pretend the loss doesn't hurt. It means you can heal without carrying resentment or self-blame. You can recover without needing apologies or explanations. You can move forward without requiring closure from someone who was never capable of providing it. Right now, your ex is dealing with their own consequences and lessons from this breakup. Their journey forward will teach them what they need to learn, just like your journey is teaching you what you need to know. You're both of a larger story that's unfolding exactly as it should. This perspective transforms your relationship from a failure into a necessary chapter. Your ex wasn't the villain who ruined your happiness. They were the character who played there in moving your story toward its intended destination. Here's your practical application of this principle. Whenever you catch yourself asking, "Why did they leave me?" replace it with, "How is their leaving leading me to something better?" Whenever you start analyzing what you did wrong, remember that their choice was the result of who they are, not who you are. This shift eliminates the victim mentality that keeps people stuck in breakup misery for months or years. You stop needing your ex to validate your worth by choosing you. You stop needing them to explain their decision or apologize for their choice. You accept their decision as of a larger pattern that's ultimately working in your favor. The sympathia principle doesn't make you passive or resigned. It makes you powerful by freeing your energy for creating the future instead of relitigating the past. Next, we'll explore how remembering the temporary nature of all experiences can create urgency around building a meaningful life beyond romantic relationships. 8. The memento mori. Urgency reset your breakup. Pain feels permanent right now, but there's something the Stoics knew about suffering that instantly changes how you experience it. Every emotion, no matter how intense, has an expiration date. Every difficult period, no matter how devastating, eventually transforms into something else. The Latin phrase memento mori means remember you will die, and it's about to become your secret weapon for putting breakup grief in perspective. This isn't meant to be morbid. It's meant to be liberating. When you truly understand that both your pain and your life are temporary, you stop wasting precious time on experiences that don't deserve your limited days. Right now, you might be spending hours scrolling through your ex's social media, replaying old conversations, or imagining scenarios where you get back together. But here's what the memento mori principle reveals. Every minute you spend stuck in breakup drama is a minute you can't spend building the life you actually want. Think about this mathematically. If you live to be 80 years old, you have approximately 29,000 days total. How many of those days do you want to spend mourning someone who chose not to be of your future? How many do you want to spend analyzing what went wrong instead of creating what goes right? The Stoics used memento mori not to become depressed about death, but to become urgent about living. When you remember that your time is finite, you start making choices that honor your limited days instead of wasting them on people and situations that don't serve your highest potential. Your breakup grief is temporary. Your ex-near's importance in your life is temporary. Even your memory of this relationship will fade with time. But the person you become while healing from this experience will shape every day you have left. This is Stoic technique number 8 out of our 10 transformative methods. The memento mori urgency reset uses the temporary nature of all experiences to create focus on what actually matters in your limited lifetime. Here's what happens when you apply this principle to your current situation. Instead of asking, "How long will this pain last?" you start asking, "What do I want to build while I'm healing?" Instead of wondering, "Will I ever get over this?" you start planning, "What kind of person do I want to become through this?" The temporary nature of your breakup pain becomes motivating instead of discouraging. You realize that this difficult period is also an opportunity period. You have a chance to redesign your life, develop new strengths, and create better standards for future relationships. But memento mori goes beyond just your breakup recovery. It reminds you that every relationship is temporary by design. Your parents won't be here forever. Your friends won't be available indefinitely. Even your future marriage will end eventually, either through death or divorce. This awareness doesn't make relationships less meaningful, it makes them more precious. When you remember that every connection has an expiration date, you stop taking people for granted and start appreciating them while you can. Your assignment is to use this perspective to transform how you spend your remaining days. Instead of dedicating months to analyzing your ended relationship, dedicate those months to building skills, relationships, and experiences that align with your values and goals. Make a list of everything you want to accomplish in your lifetime. Include career goals, personal growth objectives, experiences you want to have, places you want to visit, skills you want to develop, and people you want to impact. Now ask yourself, how does spending months in breakup misery serve any of these larger purposes? This isn't about rushing your healing or pretending you're not hurt. It's about keeping your healing in perspective with your larger life mission. Your breakup is a chapter in your story, not the entire book. Don't let one chapter consume the time you need for writing the rest. Marcus Aurelius kept a skull on his desk to remind himself that his days were numbered. This didn't make him morbid or depressed. It made him focused and grateful. Every day became precious because he knew it was limited. Your breakup pain is teaching you something valuable about the temporary nature of all human experiences, both difficult and wonderful. Use this lesson to create urgency around building a life that matters, loving people who deserve your energy, and pursuing goals that reflect your deepest values. The next technique will show you how to measure your relationship's success by what you gained in character rather than what you lost in duration. 9. The virtue as soul good foundation. Most people measure relationship success by duration. If it lasted, it was successful. If it ended, it was a failure. But this measurement system keeps you trapped in shame about your failed relationship instead of celebrating what you actually gained from the experience. The Stoics had a radically different way of measuring relationship success that will completely change how you view your ended nurship. They believed that virtue was the only true good in life. Virtue meant wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Everything else, including relationships, was valuable only to the extent that it helped you develop these character qualities. From this perspective, your relationship's success isn't measured by how long it lasted, but by how much it helped you grow. Think about your ended relationship through this lens. What wisdom did you gain about yourself, about communication, about compatibility, about love? What acts of justice did you practice by treating your nerve fairly, standing up for your values, or maintaining your integrity? What courage did you develop by being vulnerable, having difficult conversations, or ending something that wasn't working? What temperance did you learn by managing your emotions, controlling your reactions, or balancing your needs with your needs? If you gained wisdom, practiced justice, developed courage, or learned temperance, then your relationship was successful, regardless of how or when it ended. The duration was irrelevant. The character development was everything. This completely flips the script on breakup shame. Instead of feeling like you failed at relationships, you realize you succeeded at becoming a better person through relationships. Instead of viewing your ex as someone who wasted your time, you see them as someone who contributed to your character development. This is Stoic technique number 9 out of our 10 life-changing methods. The Virtue as Soul Good Foundation measures relationship success by character growth rather than duration. When you evaluate nurtureships by what you became instead of how long they lasted, every relationship becomes successful. Here's what this perspective reveals about your current breakup pain. You're not mourning a failed relationship. You're processing the end of a successful character development experience. Your sadness isn't about failure. It's about transition from one growth phase to another. Your ex didn't break up with you because you weren't good enough. They broke up with you because they completed their role in your development story. They taught you what they came.